Welcome to the Town Council meeting, February 9th, 2026. I'd like to start this evening's council meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please stand, remove their hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any residents who would like to bring something in front of the council tonight? Seeing none, approval of the January 12th, 2026 meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes of the meeting? And having seen those, are there any modifications in anybody? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the January 12th, 2025 meeting. Then moved by seconded by Cole. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Great. Thank you. Next on our
Mr. President, my consists at this point to go ahead and get you your bid openings. We'll work our way through the rest of that.
I appreciate that very much, Clerk Treasurer. So I would introduce, or I would suggest that we have a motion to modify the agenda as we are going to take something out of order at this point and open our bid so that our Clerk Treasurer can work on this. So moved. Good move. Second. Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great. So we are going to now open the bids. David, would you like to give us a little background on this, please?
Absolutely. So, thank you, Mr. President. The bid openings we have this evening are for the Community Crossings 2026-1. So this is NDOT funded grant that we have been successful in achieving. The reason we are trying to expedite with this award tonight is based on the fact that NDOT gave notice to the town middle of December and expecting a contract to be fully executed and turned in by March 12th. So much technical council meeting will not allow us to do that. So the intent tonight after everything after review is to hopefully have a conditional award based on this preliminary analysis of the bids.
Okay, great. So I will open our first bid from DC Construction Services of Middleton, Indiana. The bid proposal is submitted on February the 6th. The base bid amount is $397,961.07. Our next bid opening is from Milestone Contractors here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Their bid amount is $408,240. The next that we will open is Grady Brothers Incorporated of Indianapolis, Indiana. Their bid is $391,285. The next bid is from Calumet, which is located in Whitestown, Indiana. Their bid is for $367,000 even. Our next bid is from Baumgartner Asphalt Services, located in Fishers, Indiana. Their bid amount is $327,200. $293.70. And our final bid appears to come from Howard Companies, located here in Indianapolis, Indiana on Kentucky Avenue. And their bid is $316,520.45. That concludes the bids that are here. Next on our agenda this evening now is the Town Attorney Sloan Shaver. 2 items, please.
Mr. President, the first item is the update on the eminent domain process for 7499 North Pennsylvania Street for the continued construction and development of the sidewalk. At this point, the council engaged my firm Denizens to move along with the process, and my colleague Alex Boone has reached out to Council President Fraunhofer for a recommendation or a preferred firm for purposes of doing an appraisal and initial appraisal for the property. Once we receive that appraisal, once we get the documents and we get it flowing, we ultimately decide on the government appraisal once we have the appraisal. We will have to make a formal offer to the landowner, and then depending on whether the landowner accepts or rejects that offer, then we can initiate the actual eminent process in the court system. So, like I said, at this point, we are just waiting for feedback from the council on who to engage for purposes of getting the initial appraisal completed.
And I got Alex's email last Thursday, and I got another one today maybe. And he has suggested using an appraiser. I have a couple of questions that I'd like to talk with him about, and I'll call him tomorrow or the next day. There are various qualifications that different appraisers have, and oftentimes those qualifications then cost more or less, and I want to talk to him about his recommendation and qualifications that recommended appraiser has, which are quite good, and I just want to make sure that we are getting our money's worth. That we're not, I don't want to pay $6,000 for something that we can pay $3,000 for in this situation, but I'll call them tomorrow.
Yeah, and just so the council is aware, some of the boards from Rockford engineers does do appraisals as well, just so everyone knows.
Okay, good.
And then the second item is the ordinance for the sidewalk donation fund. You should each have a draft copy of that on within your packet. And this is simply just an ordinance to allow the council to establish this fund so that the town can receive donations for purposes of the sidewalk.
And for background, we are, there are 2 things, and we'll get to the second part of that in the town engineer report, but I believe it's imperative that we raise some money privately to be able to continue with the process of building the sidewalk along 75th Street, and who knows, other sidewalks maybe in the future. I know it's a very hot topic amongst our residents, and so that we have a police fund that we can give money to the police department, and we also have a town beautification fund. And so I suggested that Sloan put together a similar fund that we could have specifically for sidewalk work that needs to be done. I asked Jim Higgins about whether or not and making sure that these were tax deductible, and he said they were, as long as the individual that is giving those has the ability to write those taxes off. We are not saying they're tax deductible if you you as an individual don't have the authority or the income or whatever the case may be to make those, that doesn't override something. If you as an individual have the ability to write a donation off based on other factors within your tax return, then this qualifies as a not-for-profit entity that allows you to take advantage of that if you in fact have that opportunity. So, that being said, this ordinance will set up a separate fund that will put this money specifically for the use of the sidewalk, which can include legal fees, appraisals, inspections, engineering, surveys, construction, and things such as that all can be used for. So, with that, I would entertain a motion to, well, first of all, are there any questions?
The only question I have is, do we need to have any sort of further specification on what sidewalk entails, right? It seems obvious, but I think that I just don't want to avoid any problems in the future where, somebody decides to raise crosswalk is not a sidewalk and was not what the money was intended for. I guess I'm okay just leaving it this if we think that that's all we need. I just don't know, is a retaining wall that's required to build the sidewalk part of the sidewalk, right?
That can be part of the project, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's more than we asked. Yeah, I guess that's my question. Is that level of specificity needed to avoid confusion in the future? I don't know. If the lawyers in the room think we're good by just calling it sidewalk and going, I'm good, but.
Yeah, I think at this point it's best to be fairly broad.
Yeah.
We don't want to limit it to a specific area that the town knows it is right now because there might be future sidewalk projects.
Yeah, I just know there need to be other qualifiers. I haven't need specifics relative to duplication. I just meant, if this is good, I'm probably not putting it, but I just want to make sure.
I think that when we come back to specific projects, once we get to that point.
So, Sloan, do we need to have a first reading and a second reading of this ordinance?
I don't believe so.
If you're not spending money,
Right.
or so
So with that said, I would entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2026-1. Been moved, is there a second? Second, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Great.
Mr. President, while your lawyer is on a roll, why don't we go ahead and discuss Airbnb's for a moment?
Okay. Sloan?
Do you have any specific questions about what you want to know at this point?
If we eliminate it.
So just from a general perspective, Indiana code Indiana has a statute related to regulations of short-term rentals. And that code allows municipalities to adopt additional regulations. The city of Indianapolis has adopted regulations that cover short-term rentals in the town. Ryan Mann and myself discussed whether it would make sense for the town to also have regulations on top of it. The city has reached out to the city of Indianapolis to determine what they have been doing in terms of enforcement of their enforcement. And based on communication that I can speak, it sounds like the city is fairly overwhelmed and they aren't able to actually enforce a lot of regulations. With the caveat that the regulations that I'm talking about are there's not a lot of strength behind them in terms of what Indiana code allows municipalities to do. They can essentially just fine individual landowners who violate those regulations. At some point, I believe it's 3 violations within a 12-month period, they can actually revoke
was saying, it's going to be an apples, we're having a hard time identifying violations and enforcing the local ordinance. So that's why I think it could be helpful for the town to actually have its own regulations so that the enforcement of it is a little more, just a little more closer to home. And there's only so much you can do with what it allows you to do, but at least it allows the town to have a little more control over that and try to police it a little bit more.
Does the code as it exists now from the state or the city differentiate between a residence being rented in its whole or by each room within the residence? It's my understanding that the issue we had at 75 North Illinois Street, that, and I can't verify this, but I was told that those rooms, each bedroom in the house was being leased individually. And that the concept rented like yes. And so certainly I would think we have the ability to create our own ordinance. That's like renting a motel.
Right, so when I'm thinking about this, there's like levels of risk, right? It's like the riskiest thing is having a rental by the night in town. Next is like just your normal whole house by the night. And then their Airbnb has longer term, right? Like some places have restrictions. You know, you can't have short term bookings, it has to be more than 30 days or things like that, right? There's various increments we can do here, you know, up and including trying to shut it off completely. We'll have that conversation.
Meaning,
So, we can have an ordinance prohibiting rentals of less than 30 days. For instance,
I would say no. It's not clear. The state statute is not. It's a recent statute. It went into effect last year. So this is all new, and it felt a little rough putting it through to get it actually happen. In terms of the restrictions that you can place, state code does put limits on what municipalities can do. And with that specific question, I don't believe the municipality will be able to completely prohibit any short-term rentals for 30 days or less. I can look into it, but off the top of my head, I don't believe so.
What is your recommendation then? Because I'm pretty sure I'm here to say you recommend that we do something.
Yeah, my recommendation would be to enact an ordinance that mirrors state code, because that's essentially all you can do. State code tells you what those municipalities can do. In terms of requiring short-term rentals to have a permit, and if there are violations, if you notice the violations, if there are more than 3, then the 12-month period, you can actually revoke the short-term rental permit. So the rules are fine. You sort of have a question if any landowner complies with what the Indiana code says, then the town will be required to issue that permit. I think in this scenario, it's more of a deterrent than an after the fact enforcement once a landowner already has a permit, because there's not much you can do. Like I said, they can get a free violation. But with a specific situation a few weeks ago, I checked in with the city in Minneapolis, and they could not tell me whether or not that was going to have a permit with the city. It goes back to my comment again. The city's really not doing much in terms of enforcement. If the town were to have a similar ordinance and similar regulations, you can find them, but it's hard to actually
theirs is pretty strict, why don't we take a peek and see what it looks like?
Sure.
As far as I'm going.
The other thing is,
Well, I say, you know, we're talking about the municipal legal ground. I mean, there's also like 3 places where these things go for rent. I don't know how they feel about dealing with people like us saying, hey, you guys are, you know, enabling listings on your site that are not authorized. You know, I don't know if we have a mechanism that way as well, if you pass.
well, you might remember 3 years ago, right down the street from where you live, they rented an Airbnb out, and they held a wedding reception in the backyard. And, so to me, part of it gets to the zoning aspect. And it was my understanding at one point that Airbnb was something that came along if you were out of your house and it was your primary home. That's where the Airbnb came as an opportunity, because then it wasn't necessarily for business. And I think that thing is expanded where people are buying houses everywhere and putting them into and it's not their primary residence. So is there a way that we could say, if this is your primary residence, if you comply with zoning, and our zoning code has nothing to do with commercial, and renting it out is commercial, is second. And the third is that I believe Carmel, you have to register your residence. And then if you're not properly registered, you can be shut down for not being operated properly. And part of that registration includes an inspection that must meet certain criteria that is put together in the inspection. Now the question is, from our town and the employees or the opportunity we have to do that, we have nobody here that currently, other than our engineer, who, when we get into the only items that we ultimately sign are right-of-way and licenses to be within that right-of-way. And so we don't, you know, if somebody wants a new curb cut, that's within the right-of-way. Somebody wants a license to put a parking spot in the right-of-way, we grant if it's built a certain way into a certain parameter. But it seems to me as though if the state law is paramount to all of these, then we have to make it like that. But it seems as though there are other communities that are prohibited of those type of things, and certainly nobody should be able to go and park cars up and down the street and have a wedding reception, a wedding and a reception in somebody's private residence. That's not properly zoned, and I guarantee you Meridian County would be able to enforce that.
Would you like us to look into a full ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We will look at that, and we'll prepare something, and then we'll distribute it probably to you guys.
I'm sure we're not the only town that you guys represent, and we can't be the only municipality or town that has struggled with these things, but we need to put an end to it as best we can within the town. Now, you may remember back in the December meeting, there was a gentleman that sat right over here that owned a couple units or a couple houses over on Holiday East Drive, and he was very adamant that he had every right to operate those, even with the complaints that we had been receiving about parking and parking illegally, possibly in front yards. There are other items in our ordinances as it relates to the number of cars, parking where they can be, even they were parking cars in the yard or things like that. That's not acceptable. Other portions of our ordinance that we have in the town that's on the books right now.
All right, we will look into that, and like I said, our recommendation would be to make it as strict as possible, and again, obviously
also look at, just briefly, what these companies' policies are going in the other direction, right? Like, enforcement on the corner, but like, once we can tell them.
Talk about Airbnb.
Yeah, the VRB or whatever, like, what is the standard for like then removing it, right? Because that's the other way to shut it down. Is there in violation.
Gotcha. I will look into that.
Thank you.
All right. Clerk Treasurer's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have several items that should not take long. First one is the ratification of year-end transfers. Jim, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, you gave us the authority back in the November meeting to make year-end transfers of appropriations. We've done those. They're reflected in the last two pages of the December packet that were distributed earlier. Just for the minutes, we'd like to have reported that you've actually ratified those and approved those after the fact, so that when the board of accounts comes in and does their audit, like they're doing now, that we can show that point them specifically to your subsequent approval. So, you have to answer any questions that you might have. They were just all standard bookkeeping accommodations to get us in compliance.
Any questions? So with the, can we do these together? The approvals?
You can, if you like.
Let's do it one at a time. Let's approve the financial packet for December of 2025. I would entertain the motion to approve the financial packet as presented for the December 2025 period.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Good.
Mr. President, you have vouchers presented to you tonight in the amount of $33,757.43. Request approval so we can cut those checks and get them.
Have you heard anybody have any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the vouchers in the amount of $33,757.43. So moved, seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same.
Mr. President, we need an acceptance of the bank reconciliation for the month ending December 2025.
Again, this goes along with the approval of the financial packets. This will be the bank reconciliation, which was included with your packet of information for tonight. So I would entertain a motion for the acceptance of the bank reconciliations for the month of December 2025. So moved. Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Great.
Mr. President, just for clarification, so the ratification of the year-end transfers are part of the approval of financial packets, correct?
Correct.
Discussion of updated semi-annual cash flows for the town as of December 31st, 2025. Jim, you want to comment on that?
There doesn't need to be a discussion this evening, especially for two reasons. One, we don't have a full council. Two, we want to keep the agenda short. But the information has been provided for review of 5-year forward-looking forecast. Happy to discuss that at the March.
Great. Okay.
Quick comment, update on this discussion of the impacts of Senate Enrolled Act number 1 of 2025. That amendments to that bill from last year that everybody's been raising cane about is getting worse, not better. The AIM group has been trying to get it stalled for another year or two. Those bills were defeated, so the timeline that they passed originally is still going forward. There is some movement to lift the cap on the local option income tax, but we'll just have to see how this shakes out through the end of the session. That's your update. If you have any questions, I can give you updates further afterwards. Finally, Jim, I would update on the town audit that the state of Meridian triangle, I call it triangle audit, conducted. I think we're on
out shortly after the start of the year, and informed us that they were going to start auditing the town for the years 2022, 2023, 2024. And it's been a virtual audit, so they're sending email requests, I'm sending documents back. We think we provided all the information that they want, other than 3 items that I'll send them tomorrow morning, and then we'll wait for their results. But so far, I think we're very good shape.
I believe I still have one that you may need as it relates to the Denton's contract, similar to.
Well, they only asked for their contract for 1 year, and I think that.
You were able to do that.
So I think we're good.
I talked to John a long time about that, and then followed up with one of my friends over at Denton's, and he was able to send me something. If we need to change, sign another year, I have. Okay.
That concludes the clerk treasurer report, Mr. President.
Any other questions for our clerk treasurer? Seeing none, there is no town marshal. Our town engineer, bid opening.
Thank you, Mr. President. On an initial preliminary review, it appears that Howard Companies is in fact the lowest bidder, agreed at $316,520.45. For context, we got an engineer's estimate of $444,301.77. It is very apparent that these contractors are hungry. I think, given what we discussed last council meeting, we speculated, we had a lot of interest on this. There are not many community crossings projects going on. Inbound Stone will eliminated, I think, 350 more projects. So this is all in favor to the town.
So what did we think it was going to be, somewhere in the 400?
$444,000. She came in at
Can you guarantee you're that high on the sidewalk?
I wish I could. So I would say that based on preliminary review, I would ask that the council conditionally award to Howard Companies in the amount of $316,520.45, contingent upon a full informal bid analysis and bid review and additional legal review. If they are found to be either non-responsive or non-responsible, I'm going to ask for a secondary motion, I guess, for awarding to Baumgartner Asphalt as the second apparent low bid, the amount of $327,293.70. That, again, would be only given here to find Howard as a non-responsible.
So I would entertain a motion to approve, conditionally approve, subject to our town engineers review and finding that they are qualified and able to approve the Howard paving contract as the lowest bid, and with, in fact, that is found not to be acceptable for some clarification or clerical issue, that the backup would be the Baumgartner in the amount of $327,293.70. Motion. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Anything new business, Dave?
It was very much in that, so I did not have much of a conversation regarding sidewalks.
I'm going to bring that up under new business.
Yeah.
So, 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, David and I had a phone conversation as it related to trying to get in line for some of the Indianapolis neighborhood infrastructure partnership money that was going to be awarded. And that required the town, the next segment, when I call the next segment, the segment between Pennsylvania Street and Washington Boulevard on the south side of 75th Street, is estimated which includes the cost to go through the eminent domain, the cost of engineering, the cost of inspecting, the cost of constructing, to be somewhere around $490,000. And to qualify for the Indianapolis Neighborhood Infrastructure Partnership money, the city of Indianapolis asked us to have that money, our portion of that money, which would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $90,000 to $125,000, depending upon what could or could not be included in those costs. That money had to be in the bank. So I started calling people that have been asking me over the years, when are we going to go to the next phase of the sidewalk? We want to do it. We may need to raise money. I told them we may need to raise money. Hence, the need for the ordinance to be put in place. I talked to Jim. I talked to Sloan. I talked to David. It has now become apparent through additional conversation and a change in the policy of the city of Indianapolis on what funds can be used to pay what portions of that sidewalk, which include inspection and include design, which we had used INIP funds for in the past. They have modified that to only allow now true hard construction dollars to be utilized. So where we thought we needed to raise somewhere around $125,000, we now would have to raise.
You will need the town's match would be $353,188.
So the price of poker went up.
What's the match number?
Yeah, well, that's a big change in policy, because we used, and just to be clear with everybody, we had used INIP proceeds before to pay for the things that we just talked about, the surveying, the engineering, the inspection, and those were all qualified. It has now been removed from that qualification, and that is a significant portion, percentage-wise, 30% of the project, that now we can't qualify for reimbursement from Indianapolis Neighborhood Infrastructure. So, this was a hurry up and wait. Zach was kind enough to talk to me about their interest. I've had several other neighbors that have stood up and said, yes, we're happy to do it. When I talked to David originally, we needed to have the checks in the bank by the 11th or the 14th of February. Now, recognizing that we're going to have a much larger ask, I think we've now established the sidewalk fund. We can do this in a more deliberate, focused way where maybe we hold an event as opposed to me trying to get 15 people to each write $10,000 checks. We have neighbors who have shown a strong interest in making donations. They're interested to know what the ask is, and I didn't put a specific ask to anybody I talked to. I told them what I was trying to raise. So at this point, my opinion is we start the fundraising, and if you have friends or neighbors that are interested, you can say, and we'll take anything we can get. But I think we need to start, and I know Greg Jacoby's interested in kind of spearheading a fundraising type of event, or maybe not an event would be the right word, but fundraising campaign to get this going. But the numbers just jumped exponentially over the last 24 hours. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And in order to go and look at these things, we need to do that and have. I don't want to ask people for money and then find out we can't do the project, or we need more money, and then we never raise that much. I also also, in talking to Jim, if that money would come in 2026, and then we identified that we couldn't get it done in 2026, should some of those people ask for that money back, we could probably give that money back to them without there being a big burden on somebody saying, well, you took the tax write-off in this year, if they qualified for it. But now, we're gonna get that back. So if we're all operating within 1 year, that makes a big difference. We can take it into that.
Quick point of clarification, the city did make clear in their application that it would likely not be until 2027.
So it wouldn't be till 2027. There won't be any INET funds in 2026.
So this is considered the INET, the 2026 INET, but given they're still working on getting 2023 items for the institution. So I think they're working behind and anticipating this will take time. So the funds they can anticipate expect them available in 2027.
This also may be a benefit to us as we walk down the road of appraisals and making first offers and taking ourselves to the legal hurdle of what we're going to have to do to go through and try and carry out the eminent domain aspect.
Yeah, the application itself makes it very, it also walks around, like you said, the funds and the like, they penalize you from just capital.
They don't.
And as Walter said, that the last, at least 4 annual applications that the town submitted, all been eligible, have received funding through the 50/50 match on the side, inspection, survey, all of those costs. Land costs, donations are also considered an in-kind contribution, so this is a dramatic, drastic change from how they've done it in the past. And so you did say 24 hours, but it was Friday and 4:47 when I got the official email.
You know, is the total pot of money for this going decreasing as well, or you know, when I think okay, there's less that we can receive, but will it be a higher certainty that you'll at least be able to get that portion that still remains, or is there what are the dynamics?
I don't think so. I think the pot has stayed this way. I don't think it's been reduced.
I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that.
But we're still gonna fight for it before February 13th.
Well, not if we don't have the money.
So that would be my question. We can still, the way the town is operated in at least the last 2 years, 2 years are for phases 1 and 2 of sidewalks. And then other year we did not do sidewalks. We applied for the, basically splitting the local match for the community crossing project. So I would say if we're not going to pursue the sidewalk pilot this round, would you still like to at least submit an item application for reimbursement for partner match for last year's community crossings?
And don't we have some money in there for street signs?
That's, yeah, I don't know if the truck has been, not yet, it's not around the last. This is strictly.
Apply for anything that we possibly.
Was I right? Was I right in hearing you say that your application is just like ding if you don't have the money? You still technically, well, no, sorry, I'm going back to the time question. Is there any value you submit on the side? That's really the question I'm raising. If we have IOUs, right? I don't know, but it's probably, you know, 14, that's only 5 days, so probably put us there.
I would say what you sacrifice is a much higher likelihood of receiving money. But again, you could submit, if we have nothing else on the pipeline, no possibility of being aware.
We're going to do other things.
I'm trying to see what sticks, but
It's one or the other. That would be okay. If it's one or the other, then it's going to be fine. based on our track record of executing projects, right? Get these things, and, you know, we got.
But there's no guarantee that the INET program will keep them.
There you go.
Is that correct?
Yeah. It appears that we are moving from this, I would say, is a unique relationship, and that the town designs, constructs, bids, everything external, to where they are preferring to do that all in-house. So I would not be surprised, not speculating based on conversation, that they're trying to eliminate this type of style in favor of doing it.
You want to know how much the reimbursement for last year is total that we gave back?
It was in the 24,000 range. Nothing's guaranteed, but your track record is that they're in the higher side.
Mr. President, it seems to me we prioritize reimbursement salaries. But 5 out of 14.
Only, if you were real painful, the only unknown here is how many people this scares away from this all. It just scares away everybody, just like, you know, and we get it, even though, you know, but I don't think that's probably the right move for us. I'm just saying, if you're trying to, like, think through, like, how does this play out this round?
Well, I went to 2 of the bid or the announcements of those that were being awarded. One out on the west side, a big spent an extraordinary amount of time and effort to prioritize sidewalks near schools. There was one up at Harcourt Road, from Ditch Road going to Harcourt School, and one out by Stout Field. And I went to both of those because we were one of the awarded. And again, we've got Park Tudor and we've got St. Luke, and those are both priorities. So if the city stays with their priorities of helping kids get to school as safely as possible, then this would hopefully remain a priority to them as well.
I don't think anything about the nature or scope of the work is, they have no problem with that.
They want to
Check
control
the lives.
everything, but
This is just simply controlling the funds.
their dollars are
They're down there.
Well, this is good. I would ask that, my suggestion would be go ahead and file
Right. For the sidewalk?
for everything. And then,
As long as there's, like, primarily, you mentioned, prioritizing the reimbursements, funds that are spent, and that you think that
We split out, I guess.
yeah, when I just when King Solutions, I mean, $25,000 is material cost. That's one.
$31,000.
$31,000.
we need
But
it.
if it poisons the.
And when would those funds be available or be made? We're waiting on a check for those now.
We're still learning out there for the 2020.
That's my, those have been all approved,
Those have been approved as far as, yes.
right?
So all funding we're talking about now would not be available until 2026.
That's what I'm saying. We've been approved. What's the likelihood that they would, change their mind on sending the $31,000 and say, yeah, you sent something that didn't seem to be as, tasteful as what we've had before, we're now not going to pay you $31,000.
There is rest of that I have seen where initial work was good, and then when it came to contract, the department said, well, maybe slow down, and it was rejected. So that has happened. That's the only instance that I'm aware of that has happened, but, that was still more of an engineering difference. So I guess to say that it's not impossible, I don't think that in this scenario for reimbursement of community crossings is likely.
Will this work that we're doing and the work that you guys have designed, I know we've been into different, agreements or differences of opinion on drainage. So when this sidewalk city who used to weigh in on the drainage. Now, from what I understand, doesn't weigh in any longer, it's all done at the state level. Is that correct?
Under a certain threshold, under an acre, I would venture to say that this being directly impacting their facilities or potentially, I would think that they would weigh in.
Can that have a negative effect on the ability?
I don't think we're in a positive.
Mr. President,
Yes.
may I bring up an issue that I think we need to put into our application?
Sure.
I think the sidewalk has become extremely critical because of the fact that we are merging the deaf school with the blind school. And we need that sidewalk to go right now to the new facility for the blind school and the deaf school. And that is the state sponsored project. And I would make that not only St. Luke's, not only Park, not only Orchard, but I would make that a big deal. Huge.
I think that's a very good point.
Let's all leave that out of discussion.
State? That's a great idea. Okay. So,
Might be good to reach out to whoever's in charge of that state of that renovation project.
And I plan on reaching out to have them fix 75th Street to the east of College because the construction trucks and equipment is beating the living heck out of it and it's turning the bridge and the rest of it well. So maybe we plan that separately, but make the point to the state, hey, amen.
so what is everybody's pleasure on what we apply for?
This question is whether the reasonable confidence in raising $75,000 in the next 5 months.
A lot of money.
That's a significant amount of $5,000 renovations.
You're gonna need a big donor to get it.
There are some donors that I did not talk to, but somebody I know talked to and said, what number do they need? Not that they were going to individually write that check, but.
You made the first offer.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. My answer is yes, I think we can raise that. I raised just people committing to me on the telephone for 2 or 3 hours, probably $25,000. Pretty quickly at $3,000 to $5,000 rate. Some saying I'll get 1,000, some. But then we got into this question that we're in now of, do we need the fund? And then I talked to Jim, I did not want to get over my skis and say, yes, it's tax deductible, and all of a sudden it wasn't. And he made a good point, as long as the individual that's making it has that need in the hand. So, I would entertain, I don't care about the motion, but I think we can. I think we should give it a try. Now, it's easy for me to say to Greg in here, he would have something to say because he wants to try and help spearhead that. But I think we all can jump in. This was as important item as we've ever had in the town.
If I'm gonna start, like I said, the new criteria, right, I'm reading out, seeing the nuances and picking up what they're trying to rewrite and asking questions. If the, like I said, the new prioritization of the open area, if for some reason they're in view these two completely separate projects and they say, no, we're not, it's either one or the other. I don't think I said the way I'm reading it is you can put in and
that what you're saying, David? If they come to you and say you can either submit for the sidewalk, or you can submit for the reimbursement of the 31, which one do you want to?
That's, yeah, the bottom line is, can you, the way I learned it, I believe what they're trying to say is, if you were, you're applying for sidewalk from A to C, but, your priority is A to F, like this section, that's the same scope as you use, that's prioritized. Versus, we're talking two totally different scopes and projects, they might say, you can't prioritize, these are two different things. I don't know, because this is a new, I'm not sure.
So one being the least likely and 10 being the most likely. What are the chances, 1 to 10, of them denying at this point the $31,000 that they've already committed? I thought they had signed on when we were waiting for that check.
That is for last year,
That's
We're playing for 24,000 now. 30, another 30. What was the previous one?
So it's 31. We're waiting on the 24, and the 31 is what our ask is. It's gone in.
Well, I think it's a simple answer. Call them and ask them.
I just see if they, that's correct. It all depends on their responsiveness.
I think long term, I'm more being I submit for both.
Right, but he still needs an answer if it becomes one or the other, which
Both.
both.
Both. Didn't speak.
He's saying that I come to him and say, "I'm still a bit."
That's the whole issue is that after my first year, I go, we can't do that, maybe, I would anticipate that. I'm trying to, it's the last time I'm gonna see you for the applications. I want to make sure it's strong.
Apply for both. And if you get, we'll commit. I'll get some commitment.
And, letters of support, so we use St. Louis, we use the Marshall, and we use Mr. Lipstick for
Leipzig.
Leipzig.
Yeah. We gotta go to the
Why?
line school. Who is our city county counselor?
Delaney. She needs to be in.
Wouldn't she write it?
100%.
To support us?
100%.
If you can get one from her and White School, we can use either Mr. Leipzig, the other one Marshall.
Is Marshall the right one?
And we can file more.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We can not get one from part two, we have the one from St. Louis.
Did we ask for one from part two?
I don't think so, because you know how far away we are from it right now, and I'll have to assume the closer we get to college.
What connection did they give us? Was there one sign on for the
It would be much harder for the city to deny if we had all of that support.
So the more support, can the support come this year and next? Can the same support come year after year after year?
That's what we get in some applications, we use the same support.
Yeah. We can probably get a letter of support.
If you can get them to install,
Maybe the board was something like that.
clock is, that it's a Friday, I have to have everything.
other questions? So we can take this up in March to apply for both. They say one or the other, they'll want both. Yeah. Are there anything else to bring in front of the council? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh.